My beloved child, listen carefully, because this message is not arriving by chance, and it is not meant for everyone. Today, on December 16th, Archangel Michael steps forward with a voice that is firm, urgent, and unmistakably clear. He says, "I'm tired of trying to talk to you, not out of anger but out of urgency. Because what is connected to you right now is about to vanish if you delay even a little longer. This is not symbolic only. This is not imagination. This is about real, tangible provision, and the number tied to it carries shocking weight, $15,000,000,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. And before your mind starts questioning how or why, understand this first. Heaven does not explain itself to doubters. It reveals itself to the obedient. Something has been trying to get your attention repeatedly. Through people, through inner nudges, through sudden thoughts that came and disappeared just as fast. Archangel Michael says he has stood beside you in moments you don't even remember clearly. Moments where a single decision could have shifted your entire future. But you hesitated. You delayed. You told yourself later. And now the window is narrowing. This is why the message sounds different today. Yubber. Have you? Because time-sensitive doors in the spiritual realm do not stay open forever. Hear this clearly, my beloved child. This is not about greed or chasing money. This is about assignment. The amount being revealed is not random. It is connected to something you are meant to fund, build, protect, or restore. Archangel Michael is the guardian of divine justice and heavenly resources. When he speaks about wealth, it is never for vanity. It is for alignment. And right now, alignment is being tested. You may feel confused, because outwardly your life may not reflect anything close to this number. That is intentional. Heaven often hides its greatest transfers behind the most ordinary circumstances. What looks small, delayed, or even blocked in the natural realm is often masking a massive release in the unseen. Archangel Michael says you keep looking at what you lack, while ignoring what you've been positioned near. And this is why he says, "I'm tired of trying to talk to you." Because the signs were subtle at first, now they are not. There is a document, a conversation, a decision, or an opportunity linked to you that carries unusual weight. You sensed it, but dismissed it as coincidence. You felt the pull, but fear made you rationalize it away. And hear this. Fear is the only reason this has not moved yet. Not lack of favor. Not lack of ability. Fear of responsibility. Fear of visibility. Fear of stepping into a level where excuses no longer work. Archangel Michael is standing as a warrior at the threshold of this door. He does not beg. He does not negotiate. He announces. And today's announcement is this. Open it quickly. Because if you don't, the assignment attached to that $15,000,000,000 will be rerouted. Not destroyed, rerouted. Heaven always completes its plans. The question is whether you remain part of it. Something else is important to hear. This message is not meant to sit in your watch history like entertainment. The reason it reached you before it vanished is because your spirit was able to hear it, even if your mind is still catching up. Archangel Michael says you have been praying for clarity, but clarity only comes after movement. You move first, and confirmation follows. That is how faith operates at higher levels. Notice what you feel right now. A tightening in your chest. A sudden stillness. That sense that something is clicking without full explanation. Those are not emotion, those are signals. Your spirit recognizes authority when it hears it. And Archangel Michael speaks with authority that bypasses logic and goes straight to destiny. Let this sink in. The delay you thought was protection was actually preparation. The silence you thought was absence was actually restraint. Heaven holding things back until you were mature enough to carry them. And now, restraint is being lifted. That is why the tone has changed. That is why the urgency feels real. Because it is. Do not try to explain this message to people who are not aligned with your calling. They will only mock what they cannot access. This instruction is personal, precision-targeted, delivered on a specific date for a reason. December 16th is not just a day, it is a marker, a line between before and after. Archangel Michael says this clearly: what is yours is ready, but readiness alone does not guarantee possession. Action does. And in the moments ahead, you will feel a strong push to revisit something you almost ignored. When that happens, do not delay again. That is the opening. That is the door. That is where the vanishing stops and the manifestation begins. Stay with this message. What unfolds next will make this first revelation feel only like the surface. Beloved one, let me take you deeper now, because what Archangel Michael is revealing cannot remain on the surface. After the initial shock, after the urgency, there is a reason your heart feels unsettled yet strangely calm. That contrast is intentional. Archangel Michael is not only announcing what is connected to you, he is preparing you to recognize it when it appears in an unexpected form. Heaven rarely delivers answers the way the mind imagines. It delivers them the way destiny requires. Archangel Michael says you have underestimated how closely heaven had been watching your reactions, not your words. You asked for increase, but when responsibility knocked softly, you hesitated. You prayed for overflow, but when discipline was required, you grew tired. This is not condemnation. This is calibration. Because the level connected to that $15,000,000 cannot coexist with indecision. The wealth itself is neutral. It is the weight of influence attached to it that demands readiness. Understand this clearly. What is being spoken about is not sitting in a vault with your name stamped on it. It is tied to a path, a sequence, a chain of obedience that activates the next step only after the previous one is honored. Archangel Michael says this is why things have felt repetitive lately. The same lessons, the same patterns, the same crossroads. Heaven does not move forward until alignment is complete. There is also something you must hear without defensiveness. Archangel Michael says distraction has been one of your biggest leaks. Lot sin, lot failure, distraction. You have been surrounded by noise that pulls your attention away from the one thing that actually matters. Scattered focus delays divine acceleration. And the enemy of purpose does not always block. Sometimes it simply keeps you busy with things that don't count. This is where urgency comes back into the message. Not panic, precision. Archangel Michael is sharpening your awareness so you stop missing subtle confirmations. That random message, that unexpected reconnection, that opportunity that looks smaller than your expectation. Heaven often wraps massive provision in humble packaging to test pride and patience at the same time. You may ask, why me? Archangel Michael answers this without hesitation. Because you were willing to walk when others quit. Because you stayed sensitive when others became bitter. Because even when you didn't understand the delay, you didn't fully harden your heart. Heaven values resilience more than perfection. And that is why you are still in the conversation. Right now, something is shifting internally. You may feel a stronger urge to clean things up. Mentally, emotionally, even physically. That is not random. That is preparation. Before divine expansion, there is always simplification. Archangel Michael clears space before he releases supply. If you feel prompted to let go of certain habits, conversations, or commitments that drain you, do not ignore that nudge. What leaves now makes room for what must enter next. There is also a call to courage embedded in this message. The level you are approaching will require you to be seen, heard, and sometimes misunderstood. Archangel Michael says you have spent too long shrinking to stay comfortable. But comfort is not where legacy is built. The wealth connected to you carries influence, and influence requires visibility. This is why fear has been surfacing lately, not because you are weak, but because you are close. And now hear this carefully. As this message spreads, as more people resonate with it, do not isolate yourself. This is a moment to engage, to align, to declare that you are present and receptive. When you interact with this message, when you like it, share it, comment on it, and make your agreement visible, you are not helping an algorithm. You are signaling readiness. Engagement is a form of participation, and participation accelerates manifestation. If this message is stirring something deep within you, make sure you stay connected. Subscribe so you don't miss what unfolds next, because these revelations are progressive. Each one builds on the last, and absence creates gaps. Invite others who are spiritually sensitive to witness this moment with you. Sometimes alignment happens faster in community than in isolation. Archangel Michael says this phase is about attention. Where you place it, how long you hold it, and what you choose to act on when clarity arrives. You are being trained to move without needing constant reassurance. Faith at this level is not loud. It is steady. What is approaching will require decisiveness. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Soon. And when the moment comes, it will feel simple, even ordinary, but the weight behind it will be immense. That is how divine opportunities often arrive. Quietly, cleanly, without drama. Stay alert. Stay grounded. And most importantly, stay willing. Because what heaven is preparing to release through you is far bigger than a number. It is impact. It is legacy. And it is closer now than it has ever been. Chosen one. As this message deepens, Archangel Michael draws your attention to something you have not fully acknowledged yet. Your position. Not your location, not your job, not your current bank balance, but your spiritual positioning. He says many people want the reward without realizing that positioning always comes before provision. You have been placed closer to this transfer than you think, but closeness alone does not activate movement. Awareness does. There is a reason this message feels heavy now. Archangel Michael is adjusting your perception. Until now, you thought delay meant denial. But delay was actually separation, separating you from people, habits, and mindsets that could not survive the level you are stepping into. Some connections had to fade. Some plans had to collapse. Some expectations had to disappoint you. Not to hurt you, but to unburden you. Heavy assignments cannot be carried by crowded hands. Archangel Michael says something critical here. The wealth connected to you responds to authority, not desire. Wanting it is not enough. Speaking about it is not enough. Authority is demonstrated through obedience when no one is watching. That is why the instructions you received lately felt small, almost insignificant. Heaven tests with whispers before it trusts with thunder. You may notice that your tolerance for nonsense has dropped. Conversations that once entertained you now exhaust you. Environments that once felt normal now feel draining. This is a sign of elevation. Archangel Michael says when your spirit outgrows a level, discomfort becomes your compass. Do not fight it. Follow it. What feels uncomfortable now is simply incompatible with where you are going. There is also warning wrapped in protection. Archangel Michael says, do not announce your next move prematurely. Not everyone who claps for you wants you to arrive. Some people only support what they can control. Silence, in this season, is wisdom. Let results speak. Let timing defend you. Heaven does not rush announcements. It unveils outcomes. Now, about the number that startled you. The $15,000,000 is not just provision. It is proof. Proof that obedience still works. Proof that faith is not outdated. Proof that heaven still intervenes in human affairs. But proof always comes after process. This is why Archangel Michael has been so direct. He says, I have tried to talk to you gently, but now clarity requires firmness. If this message is resonating, it is important that you anchor yourself here. Engage with this moment. Like this message, share it with those who are spiritually alert, and leave a comment declaring that you are present and receptive. This is not about numbers. It is about alignment. Make sure you stay connected by subscribing, because what is being released now will unfold layer by layer, and consistency matters in seasons like this. Archangel Michael now shifts the tone slightly, from warning to reassurance. He says you are not late. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. The urgency is not because you failed, but because the window is optimal. Heaven works with seasons, and this one is ripe. When fruit is ripe, delay leads to loss. Action leads to harvest. Pay attention to the next few days. Your discernment will sharpen. You will notice patterns breaking. You will sense clarity where confusion once lived. These are indicators that alignment is happening. When the opportunity presents itself, it will not look dramatic. It will feel logical, almost understated. Do not underestimate simple doors. The most powerful gates often open quietly. Here is something very important, and receive it deeply. Archangel Michael says the reason you were chosen for this level is because you understand stewardship. You know that wealth is a tool, not an identity. That is why heaven trusts you. That is why this conversation did not bypass you. Heaven avoids hands that clutch but favors hands that circulate. Hold on, because what is coming next will connect dots you didn't even realize were related. This is where understanding deepens, and you will be grateful you stayed present for it. Type I receive divine authority in the comments if this message is confirming what your spirit already knew. Blessing code 8649 has just been released. Adhere this invitation as an extension of the message itself. This work is not just a video, it is a mission. As God opens doors and reveals truth, there are countless souls who are still searching for clarity, still waiting for confirmation. When you sow through Super Thanks, membership, or through PayPal using the link in the description, you are placing seed into fertile ground. The Lord says, as you release, I release. As you open your hand, I open the heavens. This is your moment to partner with what God is doing right now. Do not hesitate. Respond in faith, and may what you sow return to you pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. Beloved soul, now that the weight of this revelation has settled, Archangel Michael shifts your focus from what is coming to who you must become to carry it. Is have many people collapsed under answered prayers because they never prepared their destructive for expansion. Heaven is careful. It does not pour new wine into fragile vessels. That is why this season has been refining you instead of rewarding you. Refinement always feels slower than reward, but it lasts longer. Archangel Michael brings your attention to your inner dialogue. the private conversations you have with yourself when no one else is around. He says this is where the real battle has been taking place. Not externally, not with people, but internally, between what you believe is possible and what heaven already approved. You are taught to be realistic, but realism without faith quietly caps destiny. Heaven never consults limitation before it releases abundance. There is something you must understand now. The reason this opportunity feels almost intimidating is because it stretches beyond your previous identity. Growth always threatens familiarity. Archangel Michael says you are not losing yourself. You are shedding a version of you that was only meant for survival, not legacy. Survival mindset focuses on getting by. Legacy mindset focuses on building beyond yourself. You may have noticed a strange tension lately. One part of you wants to move boldly, while another part wants to retreat and stay invisible. This is not confusion. It is transition. When the old self and the emerging self coexist, friction is inevitable. Archangel Michael says do not mistake that tension for instability. It is evidence that transformation is underway. There is also clarity coming regarding relationships. Some people will naturally drift without conflict. Others may resist your growth subtly, through doubt or discouragement masked as concern. Archangel Michael advises discernment, not confrontation. You do not need to explain your obedience. Explanation is only required when seeking permission, and you are no longer operating at that level. He also speaks about patience in execution. Urgency does not mean haste. Opening the door quickly does not mean running blindly. It means responding when clarity arrives, not postponing out of fear. There is a difference between hesitation and discernment. Discernment listens, hesitation avoids. You are being trained to recognize the difference. Archangel Michael now highlights a pattern from your past. There were moments when you sensed something significant approaching, but disappointment followed instead. Those moments were not failures, they were rehearsals. Each delay strengthened your discernment, sharpened your resilience, and exposed what still needed healing. Heaven wastes nothing. Even disappointment was used to prepare you. This is why the current message feels more solid than previous hopes. This one does not rely on emotion. It carries authority. Authority feels calm, not frantic. Secure, not desperate. Archangel Michael says if you feel a grounded confidence instead of excitement, that is a sign of maturity. Excitement fades. Conviction endures. Another important shift is happening in how you view time. You are beginning to understand that rushing ahead creates gaps, but resisting movement creates stagnation. Balance is required now. Move when prompted. Pause when instructed. Obedience is not about speed, it is about timing. Heaven's timing is precise, never random. There is also a release of guilt happening. Guilt for not acting sooner. Guilt for past mistakes. Guilt for missed chances. Archangel Michael says guilt has no authority in this season. Condemnation clouds judgment, and clear judgment is required where you are going. You cannot steward abundance while dragging shame behind you. Let it go. Grace has already covered what you keep replaying. Pay attention to how your priorities are rearranging. What once felt urgent is losing importance. What once felt optional is gaining weight. This internal reordering is heaven's way of aligning you without force. When alignment is genuine, obedience feels natural instead of forced. Archangel Michael also reminds you that protection surrounds this process. He stands not only as a messenger, but as a guardian. There are things you were shielded from that you will never fully know, deals that would have compromised you, shortcuts that would have cost you integrity, alliances that would have drained your assignment. Protection sometimes looks like delay, but it is still protection. As this part of the message settles, understand that you are no longer being invited. You are being entrusted. Invitation asks if you want to come. Entrustment assumes you are ready to carry responsibility. Heaven is shifting its posture toward you, and that is not a small thing. Stay present. Stay teachable. Stay courageous. What is unfolding is not random, and the next layer will reveal why everything had to happen in this exact order. My dear one, Archangel Michael now draws your awareness to a truth that has been quietly shaping your journey all along: capacity. Not capacity as the world defines it, but spiritual capacity. He says heaven does not release according to desire, talent, or even prayer alone. It releases according to what a soul can carry without collapsing. And everything you have walked through until now has been expanding that capacity, layer by layer, often without you realizing it. There were seasons when you felt stretched beyond comfort. Seasons where you had to hold responsibility without recognition, pressure without applause, faith without visible proof. Those moments were not punishments. They were weight training. Archangel Michael explains that muscles only grow under resistance, and so does spiritual authority. What once felt heavy will soon feel natural, because you have been strengthened in private. This is also why impatience had to be confronted in you. Impatience is preparation. If what is coming had arrived earlier, it would have overwhelmed you, not empowered you. Heaven delayed the release not because it was unwilling, but because it was wise. Wisdom always thinks long-term. And what is connected to you is not a momentary blessing. It is a generational impact. Archangel Michael now speaks about trust. He says you have learned how to trust God in scarcity, but trusting Him in abundance requires a different maturity. Scarcity teaches dependence. Abundance tests stewardship. Many people remain stuck because they only know how to pray when things are tight. But you are being trained to remain grounded when things expand rapidly. Notice how your prayers have changed. They are less desperate, more intentional. Less about escape, more about alignment. That shift matters. It signals readiness. Heaven responds to prayers that come from partnership, not panic. You are no longer begging. You have agreed. And agreement moves mountains quietly. There is also something being healed regarding control. In the past, when outcomes were uncertain, you tried to manage everything. You planned excessively, worried constantly, replayed scenarios in your mind. Archangel Michael says release is happening here. You are learning to move with confidence without needing to micromanage the future. That is faith at a higher frequency. You also addresses something tender. The disappointment you experienced when people did not support you the way you expected. That disappointment was painful, but it refined your motivation. You learned to obey without applause. You learned to keep going when affirmation was absent. That purified your heart. Heaven trusts purified motives. Right now, you are standing at a point where your inner world finally matches the level of your assignment. Your values are clearer. Your boundaries are firmer. Your discernment is sharper. These are not personality changes. They are leadership qualities being activated. Archangel Michael reminds you that leadership does not always look like standing in front. Sometimes it looks like making decisions no one else sees. Sometimes it looks like saying no when yes would be easier. Sometimes it looks like patience when rushing would feel more impressive. True authority is often quiet until it is undeniable. There is also warning spoken gently. Do not romanticize struggle. Struggle was a teacher, not a destination. Some people cling to hardship because it feels familiar, even when freedom is available. You are being invited to step out of survival mode. That requires letting go of old narratives about yourself. You are not just getting by anymore. You are being established. You may feel moments of uncertainty as this identity shifts. That is normal. When an old version of you dissolves, there is a brief in between where you feel undefined. Archangel Michael says, do not rush to label yourself. Let the process complete. Clarity will settle naturally. Another key instruction is this: remain consistent. Not dramatic, not extreme, just consistent. Consistency builds trust, both in the natural and the spiritual realm. Heaven moves through people who are reliable. Reliability is rare, and that rarity makes you valuable. As you move forward, expect confirmation to come through peace rather than excitement. Peace is heaven's signature. Excitement can be emotional. Peace is authoritative. When the right door opens, it will feel steady, grounded, and strangely familiar, as if you have been there before. That is because your spirit has already seen it. Archangel Michael says you are no longer chasing anything. Things are aligning toward you. That shift changes how you move. You no longer strive. You steward. You no longer prove. You protect. You no longer rush. You respond. Let this truth anchor you now. You are not becoming someone else. You are becoming more fully who you were always meant to be. And everything ahead will make sense in light of that. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now brings your focus to movement. Not physical rushing, but inner alignment translating into outer action. He says there comes a moment when preparation ends and participation begins. Many people stay in preparation their entire lives because it feels safe. But safety is not the goal here. Purpose is. And purpose always requires motion at the right time. You may feel an unusual restlessness rising within you. Not anxiety, not confusion, restlessness with stagnation. What once felt acceptable now feels incomplete. Archangel Michael says this is the signal that waiting has done its work. When heaven is silent, waiting is obedience. But when clarity arrives, waiting becomes resistance. Discern which season you are in, because misreading the season creates unnecessary struggle. This is also where courage becomes practical. Courage is not a feeling. It is a decision made in the presence of fear. Archangel Michael says you do not need to feel ready to move. You need to be willing. Readiness often follows obedience, not the other way around. If you wait until everything feels perfect, you will miss divine timing disguised as simplicity. He now speaks about responsibility. What is coming will require structure, system, order. You have been sensing the need to organize, plan, and simplify. This is not perfectionism. It is stewardship awakening. Chaos repels expansion. Order attracts trust. Heaven entrusts increase to those who can sustain it. There is also a strong emphasis now on integrity. Not public integrity, but private alignment. Doing the right thing when shortcuts are available. Speaking truth when silence would be easier. Archangel Michael says integrity is a form of protection. It keeps doors open that talent alone cannot. Where you are going, reputation will matter, but character will matter more. You may also notice that opportunities are testing your discernment. Not every open door is the right one. Some doors are distractions dressed as blessings. Archangel Michael advises you to pause long enough to sense peace before committing. Urgency should not override wisdom. Heaven does not pressure, it confirms. At this stage, engagement matters more than observation. If this message is speaking to you, do not remain invisible. Like this message, share it, leave your voice in the comments, and align publicly with what your spirit already knows privately. When you subscribe and stay connected, you are choosing continuity over fragmentation. Momentum builds where attention remains consistent. This is also a time to spread the message intentionally. Someone in your circle is waiting for confirmation, and your simple share could be the trigger that shifts their direction. Do not underestimate how heaven moves through ordinary actions. Impact multiplies when obedience is shared. Archangel Michael now addresses something subtle but important: self-trust. You have relied heavily on external validation in the past. Advice, opinions, permission. But now, discernment has matured in you. You are learning to trust the quiet knowing within. That knowing is not ego, it is alignment. Heaven often speaks softly to those who are listening closely. Here is also a release happening from old timelines. Regret over what could have been. Comparison with where others seem to be. Archangel Michael says comparison distorts perception. You cannot measure a private journey with public milestones. Your path has been intentionally unique because your assignment is specific. Expect acceleration, but not chaos. Acceleration with order feels calm, not frantic. When things begin to move faster, stay grounded. Do not abandon routines that keep you centered. Consistency will be your anchor during expansion. Here is a truth that may surprise you. Archangel Michael says the moment you stop striving, things will start aligning faster. Striving signals lack. Stewardship signals trust. You are stepping into a season where trust replaces tension. That shift alone changes outcomes. Before moving forward, pause here for a moment. Let this sink in. The next layer will reveal how all these internal shifts connect to very practical, tangible outcomes. Hold on. You will want to see how this unfolds, because the connection is closer than you think. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now brings you into a deeper layer of understanding, because what you are approaching is not just a breakthrough, it is a shift in authority. Authority does not announce itself loudly. It settles quietly, changes how you think, how you speak, and how you decide. You may not have noticed it yet, but others are already responding to you differently. Not because you demanded respect, but because something about you has become grounded, steady, and immovable. Archangel Michael says this shift began the moment you stopped explaining yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. That was not pride, that was maturity. When authority rises, the need for constant justification disappears. You no longer argue your value. You embody it. And embodiment speaks louder than explanation ever could. Here is something else unfolding beneath the surface. Your relationship with uncertainty has changed you. What once made you anxious now makes you attentive. Instead of fearing the unknown, you are learning to listen within it. Archangel Michael says uncertainty is not absence of guidance. It is often the space where guidance becomes clearer. Silence sharpens discernment. You are also being trained to recognize timing by peace rather than pressure. In the past, you moved quickly to avoid discomfort. Now, you are learning to wait without anxiety and move without hesitation. That balance is rare. It is the mark of someone who trusts the process without needing to control it. Archangel Michael now speaks about identity. He says you are no longer defined by what you survived. Survival was a chapter, not the title of your story. Carrying survival as an identity can unconsciously limit expansion. You were not created only to endure. You were created to build, influence, and release life through what you steward. This is why you have felt a quiet resistance to returning to old patterns, even when they felt familiar. Familiarity does not equal alignment. Some things feel safe only because they are known, not because they are good for you. Archangel Michael says, do not confuse nostalgia with calling. Your future requires different tools than your past. You may also notice that your emotional responses are changing. Things that once triggered strong reactions now pass through you with less impact. This is not numbness. It is regulation. Emotional maturity allows clarity to remain intact under pressure. Where you are going, pressure will exist, but panic cannot accompany you. Another important shift is happening in how you perceive success. Success is no longer about proving something to others or compensating for past wounds. It is becoming quieter, more intentional, more purposeful. Archangel Michael says, when success is rooted in healing instead of insecurity, it becomes sustainable. There is also an invitation here to release old vows you made unconsciously. Vows like I'll never need anyone, or I have to do everything myself, or nothing comes easily for me. These statements may have protected you once, but they now restrict flow. Archangel Michael says self-sufficiency that excludes divine partnership becomes a ceiling. You are learning to receive without guilt, to accept help without shame, to allow ease without suspicion. That is not weakness, that is alignment. Grace does not have to be earned repeatedly. Sometimes it simply has to be accepted. As this authority settles, you may feel a stronger sense of responsibility toward how you use your words. Words shape environments. Words activate or deactivate momentum. Archangel Michael says, speak less from frustration and more from intention. What you say now carries more weight than before. This is also a season where discernment will protect you from subtle detours. Not dramatic temptations, but small misalignments. Slight compromises. Convenient delays. Archangel Michael says, remain attentive to what drains your energy without producing fruit. Not everything that feels productive is purposeful. You may wonder why all of this inner work is necessary before the tangible manifestation becomes visible. Archangel Michael answers this clearly. Visibility without stability collapses. Heaven ensures stability first. When what comes finally arrives, it must stay. Another truth emerges here. You are not meant to carry this next level alone, but you are meant to carry it selectively. Community will matter, but discernment determines who stands close. Not everyone deserves access to your process. Access is earned through alignment, not history. As you stand in this moment, understand that nothing has gone wrong. Nothing is missing. Nothing is delayed unnecessarily. Everything is converging with precision. You are not behind schedule. You are on assignment. Stay present here. The next unfolding will reveal how this authority begins to translate into visible shifts, and why the timing could not have been different. My beloved child, Archangel Michael now speaks with a depth that feels both comforting and commanding, because this stage is about activation. Not anticipation, not preparation. Activation. Everything you have received so far has been aligning internal structures. Now heaven begins to stir what has been dormant. You may not see dramatic changes immediately, but you will feel an undeniable shift in momentum. Things will start responding to you differently. Archangel Michael says this is the moment where spiritual permission turns into earthly motion. Until now, doors were being measured. Systems were being adjusted. People were being repositioned. Now, alignment begins to express itself in real time. You may notice conversations changing tone. Opportunities resurfacing unexpectedly. Resistance softening without explanation. These are signs that authority is now active, not theoretical. There is something important you must guard in this phase: clarity. When movement begins, noise increases. Opinions multiply. Suggestions pour in. Archangel Michael warns that not every voice speaking loudly is speaking wisely. Just because someone has access to you does not mean they have insight into your assignment. Discernment must remain stronger than urgency. You are also being reminded that speed does not equal progress. True progress feels steady, grounded, and intentional. If something pressures you to move before peace arrives, pause. Heaven does not rush its chosen vessel. It confirms them. The right steps will feel firm under your feet, not slippery. Archangel Michael now reveals something many overlook. When provision approaches, tests of humility often appear. Opportunities that seem beneath your expectation. Instructions that feel too simple for the magnitude promised. This is intentional. Pride disqualifies faster than fear. Heaven looks for willingness, not entitlement. Respond with humility, and doors will open wider than logic can explain. You may also feel a renewed sense of responsibility toward your choices. Decisions feel heavier now because they matter more. This is not pressure. It is awareness. Archangel Michael says weight increases with authority, but so does support. You are not carrying this alone. What is required of you will always be matched by what is sublime to you. Pay attention to what energizes you versus what drains you. Activation sharpens sensitivity. Your spirit will quickly recognize what aligns and what distracts. Honor that awareness. It will save you time, strength, and unnecessary detours. At this point, staying connected matters deeply. Do not disengage now. Like this message, share it with those who need confirmation, and let your voice be heard in the comments. When you subscribe and stay close, you are choosing continuity in a season where consistency unlocks acceleration. Momentum is built by those who remain present, not those who appear briefly and disappear. Archangel Michael emphasizes that this is also a time of multiplication. What you engage with intentionally will grow. What you ignore will fade. Engagement is not passive anymore. It is participatory. Heaven responds to alignment expressed through action. You may feel moments of awe mixed with disbelief. That is normal. When something long awaited begins to move, the mind takes time to catch up with the spirit. Do not let disbelief cancel momentum. Let gratitude anchor you instead. Now receive this activation carefully. Type "I step into alignment" in the comments if you feel this message awakening something within you. Blessing code 9321 is now activated. And now hear this as a continuation of the message, not a pause from it. What is unfolding here is a living stream, meant to reach those who are still waiting for clarity. When you sow through Super Thanks, membership, or through PayPal using the link in the description, you are placing seed into a river that carries light to searching souls. The Lord says, "Whoever waters others will himself be watered." This is not a donation. It is a prophetic response. Act now. Support the mission. Partner with what heaven is releasing, and may your obedience return to you multiplied, strengthened, and overflowing. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now invites you into a quieter but deeper phase, because after activation comes stabilization. Many people misunderstand this stage. They expect constant excitement, visible signs, and non-stop confirmation. But heaven works differently. When something real is established, it settles before it expands. What you are experiencing now is not a slowdown. It is grounding. Archangel Michael says the reason things may feel calmer externally is because alignment has already occurred internally. When inner resistance dissolves, outer chaos is no longer required to push you forward. You are no longer being forced by discomfort. You are being guided by clarity. That shift changes everything. You may notice that you are thinking differently about long-term decisions. Short-term pleasure holds less appeal. Quick wins feel less satisfying. You are becoming more intentional, more measured, more future-oriented. This is not you becoming rigid. This is you becoming strategic. Heaven entrusts long-range vision to those who no longer live impulsively. There is also a refinement happening in your patience. Earlier, patience was something you endured. Now, patience is something you choose. That distinction matters. Chosen patience carries peace. Forced patience carries frustration. Archangel Michael says peace is the indicator that you are aligned with timing, not fighting it. At this stage, temptation may show up subtly, not in obvious forms, but as invitations to overextend, overcommit, or overexplain. You may feel the urge to rush ahead and make things happen manually. Archangel Michael cautions you here. Do not confuse initiative with interference. What is unfolding does not need your anxiety to fuel it. You are also learning to recognize when silence is instruction. Not every step requires immediate action. Sometimes the most powerful move is restraint. Archangel Michael says restraint preserves momentum. Acting too soon can dilute impact. Wisdom knows when to move and when to hold. Another internal shift is happening around trust. Not just trust in God, but trust in yourself. You are beginning to respect your own discernment. You no longer second-guess every decision. You listen, sense, and respond with growing confidence. That confidence is not arrogance. It is alignment solidifying. You may find yourself less reactive to opinions. Praise does not inflate you, and criticism does not deflate you. This emotional stability is a sign of maturity. Where you are going, emotional extremes would be dangerous. Stability protects vision. Archangel Michael also speaks about rest. Not rest as withdrawal, but rest as rhythm. You are learning that rest is part of productivity, not the opposite of it. Burnout would sabotage what is coming. Sustainable pace ensures longevity. Heaven is not in a hurry, but it is always on time. Pay attention to patterns repeating in a new way. Opportunities you missed before may resurface with better structure. Conversations that once led nowhere may now produce clarity. This is not coincidence. It is alignment revisiting familiar territory with new authority. There is also an increase in discernment regarding motives, both yours and others. You can sense when something is offered with hidden expectations. You can feel when energy is misaligned. Archangel Michael says honor that awareness. You are not required to accept everything that is available. Selectivity is stewardship. You may wonder why the tangible manifestation is not fully visible yet. Archangel Michael answers gently. Foundations are being sealed. Structures are being reinforced. What is about to be revealed must stand under pressure. Premature exposure would invite unnecessary interference. This is also a season of gratitude deepening. Not performative gratitude, but quiet appreciation. Gratitude anchors abundance. Complaining leaks it. What you honor grows. What you resent drains. Archangel Michael encourages you to speak gratitude even before results are obvious. Gratitude is prophetic. It acknowledges what is forming before it fully appears. Your sense of identity is also stabilizing. You are no longer defined by urgency, struggle, or reaction. You are becoming defined by intention. That shift will influence how others interact with you. Some will rise to meet you. Others may distance themselves. Both outcomes are alignment at work. One more instruction is given here. Guard your focus. Fragmented attention weakens momentum. Choose depth over distraction. presence over performance. The more focused you remain, the clearer the next steps will become. Before moving forward, pause internally. Notice how much has already changed within you. Notice what no longer triggers you. Notice what feels settled. Those are signs of real progress, even if the external world has not fully caught up yet. Hold on to this moment. You will want to remain present for what comes next, because the next unfolding will connect inner stabilization with outward manifestation in a way that brings clarity to everything you have been sensing but could not yet explain. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now turns your attention toward expression, because what stabilizes internally must eventually be expressed externally. Alignment that stays hidden for too long begins to stagnate. Heaven does not prepare vessels to remain unseen forever. There comes a moment when inner clarity must translate into outward action, communication, and presence. This is that moment beginning to form. You may feel a gentle but persistent push to show up differently, to speak when you would normally stay silent, to step forward where you once stayed back. This is not ego awakening, it is assignment surfacing. Archangel Michael says when authority matures, it naturally seeks expression. Suppression, at this stage, would feel heavy, because you are no longer built for invisibility. This does not mean you suddenly become loud or dramatic. Expression does not require noise. It requires authentic placement, being where you are meant to be, saying what you are meant to say, doing what aligns, without exaggeration or fear. The right expression carries peace even when it stretches you. Archangel Michael also addresses something practical here. You have been given insight, but insight alone does not create impact. Implementation does. Many people stay stuck because they keep consuming messages but never embodying them. You are being invited to move from listener to participant, from receiver to carrier. This is why engagement matters right now. When you interact with this message, when you like it, comment, share it, and stay subscribed, you are not just supporting a channel. You are declaring that you are present, active, and willing to move with what God is revealing. Engagement is a form of agreement, and agreement accelerates alignment. If this message is speaking to you, let others find it through you. Share it intentionally. Someone connected to your life needs to hear this exact word at this exact time. Heaven often uses proximity, not platforms, to deliver confirmation. Archangel Michael says do not underestimate the power of consistent connection. Stay tuned. Stay aware. Stay engaging. What is being revealed now is sequential. Missing one layer can cause confusion in the next. Consistency creates clarity. Now, he speaks about courage in visibility. Visibility exposes, but it also multiplies. When light is hidden, it helps no one. When light is placed correctly, it illuminates paths for others. You are not being exposed for criticism. You are being positioned for impact. You may notice resistance rising internally when expression is required. Thoughts like, who am I to do this? Or what if I get it wrong? Archangel Michael responds clearly. You are not called because you are flawless. You are called because you are aligned. Growth continues even while you move. Another important truth is revealed here. Expression will attract both alignment and opposition. That is normal. Opposition does not mean you are wrong. It often confirms that movement has begun. Do not personalize resistance. Stay focused on obedience. There is also a refinement happening in how you communicate. You are learning to speak with intention rather than reaction, to respond rather than defend, to state truth without needing validation. That is authority in action. Archangel Michael emphasizes discipline now. Not rigid control, but intentional structure. Set rhythms that support growth. Protect time for clarity. Eliminate habits that fragment focus. Discipline is not restriction. It is preservation. You may feel moments where you want to retreat into comfort. That is natural when expansion begins. But comfort will no longer satisfy you the way it once did. You have tasted alignment, and comfort without purpose will feel empty. This is also a moment to reaffirm commitment. Commitment to the process. Commitment to growth. Commitment to staying present even when results are still forming. Commitment creates staying power. Staying power sustains breakthrough. Archangel Michael says you are not being asked to do everything at once. One aligned step carries more weight than many forced actions. Focus on the next right movement. Clarity follows obedience. Before this message moves forward, take a moment to anchor yourself here. Engage. Declare your presence. Align your actions with what your spirit already knows. When you choose connection over distance, movement over passivity, clarity over comfort, you position yourself for what is already moving toward you. What comes next will reveal how expression begins to open tangible doors. Doors that once seemed distant, but are now closer than you realize. Stay with this. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now draws you into a moment of recognition, because before manifestation becomes undeniable, understanding must become complete. Many people reach the edge of breakthrough and misunderstand the stillness that comes just before it. They assume nothing is happening, when in reality everything is locking into place. What you are sensing now is not delay. It is convergence. There is a deep recalibration occurring between heaven's timing and your expectations. Earlier in your journey, expectations were shaped by urgency and need. Now they are being reshaped by wisdom and discernment. Archangel Michael says this recalibration is essential because expectations influence perception, and perception determines response. You are being trained to recognize movement even when it does not announce itself loudly. You may notice that answers are coming in fragments rather than full explanations. A thought here, a confirmation there, a subtle instruction rather than a detailed plan. This is intentional. Heaven is strengthening your ability to walk by discernment instead of dependency. Where you are going, you cannot rely on constant external reassurance. You must trust the internal compass that has been refined within you. There is also a deepening of responsibility happening now. Not responsibility that feels burdensome, but responsibility that feels purposeful. You are becoming aware that your choices have wider impact than before. Words carry further. Decisions ripple outward. This awareness is not meant to intimidate you. It is meant to anchor you. Archangel Michael says this is the stage where many people self-sabotage without realizing it. They grow uncomfortable with calm. They mistake peace for stagnation. They create unnecessary movement because they are addicted to urgency. You are being cautioned here. Do not disrupt alignment just to feel busy. Stillness, when guided by clarity, is powerful. Your relationship with faith is also maturing. Faith is no longer just believing that something will happen. It is trusting how it will happen. It is releasing the need to control the form while remaining committed to the outcome. This level of faith is quieter, but far more resilient. You may also find yourself revisiting past experiences with new understanding. Moments that once confused you now make sense. Delays that once hurt now reveal protection. Losses that once felt unfair now show their purpose. Archangel Michael says clarity often arrives retroactively. Understanding follows obedience. There is something important being sealed within you now. Confidence without arrogance. Confidence rooted in alignment, not achievement. You are learning to stand without posturing, to move without proving, to speak without defending. This kind of confidence cannot be shaken easily because it does not depend on applause. Another shift is happening in how you perceive obstacles. Obstacles no longer feel like threats. They feel like indicators, information, feedback. Instead of reacting emotionally, you are beginning to respond strategically. That shift alone changes outcomes dramatically. Archangel Michael also speaks about patience with others. As you grow, you may notice that some people are not moving at the same pace. Resist the urge to drag them forward or judge them for staying behind. Everyone moves according to their capacity and calling. Your role is to remain aligned, not to manage other people's journeys. There is also a strengthening of spiritual boundaries. You are becoming more selective about what you allow into your mind and spirit. Media, conversations, environments, all of these shape perception. Archangel Michael says, guard your inner world carefully now. What you consume will either sharpen or dull your discernment. As this phase deepens, you may feel a sense of inevitability. Not pressure, but certainty. A quiet knowing that something is forming beyond doubt. That knowing does not need constant reinforcement. It simply exists steady and unshaken. This is a sign that alignment has moved from hope into conviction. You are also being reminded not to romanticize the next phase. What is coming will be good, but it will also require discipline, consistency, and wisdom. Blessing without discipline creates chaos. Blessing with discipline creates legacy. Heaven is preparing you for the latter. Archangel Michael says you have done well to remain present through this unfolding. Presence is rare. Many people disengage when answers are not immediate. You stayed. You listened. You allowed refinement. That endurance matters more than you realize. As this part settles, understand this clearly. Nothing needs to be forced now. Nothing needs to be chased. Nothing needs to be defended. What has been aligned will move when the moment arrives. Your role is to remain steady, attentive, and obedient. The next unfolding will not only confirm what you have sensed, it will seal it in a way that feels unmistakable. Stay grounded here. What comes next is the culmination of everything that has been prepared. My beloved child, Archangel Michael now speaks with finality and fulfillment, because this is the moment of sealing. Not an ending, but a confirmation. What hath been prepared, refined, activated, stabilized, expressed, and recognized is now being anchored. Heaven does not rush seals. When something is sealed, it is protected, established, and authorized to remain. This is why the journey unfolded the way it did. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. Archangel Michael says the reason this message reaches its fullness now is because you are finally able to carry it without distortion. Earlier, fear would have twisted it. Later, comfort might have diluted it. But now, your spirit is steady, your discernment is sharp, and your posture is aligned. This is the correct moment. There is a deep peace available to you now, one that does not depend on circumstances. This peace is not passive, it is powerful. It comes from knowing that what is meant for you cannot bypass you, and what is not meant for you can no longer distract you. That clarity is a form of wealth on its own. Archangel Michael reminds you that manifestation is not always dramatic. Sometimes it arrives quietly, settles firmly, and grows steadily. Do not look for fireworks to validate obedience. Look for sustainability. What heaven releases now is designed to last, not to impress temporarily. You may notice that the urgency you once felt has transformed into assurance. You are no longer chasing signs. You are recognizing alignment. That shift marks maturity. Faith at this level does not demand constant proof. It rests in trust and responds when prompted. This is also where responsibility meets reward. What comes next will require stewardship, wisdom, and humility. You are not being elevated above others, but positioned among those who can be trusted. Trust is heaven's highest compliment. Archangel Michael speaks clearly now. The window you were warned about has not vanished. It has been claimed. Claimed through presence. Claimed through obedience. Claimed through endurance. You did not miss it. You moved with it. And because you did, what follows will unfold with clarity rather than chaos. There will be moments ahead where you are tempted to doubt what you now know. In those moments, return to stillness. Return to discernment. Return to the quiet certainty that carried you here. Noise will always try to compete with clarity. Choose clarity. You are also being reminded to remain teachable. Elevation does not end learning, it deepens it. Stay humble enough to listen, wise enough to discern, and bold enough to act when instruction comes. As this message seals, Archangel Michael declares protection over what has been aligned. Protection over your decisions. Protection over your mind. Protection over what you are called to steward. What is sealed by heaven cannot be easily disrupted by man. Let this moment mark you, not emotionally but spiritually. You are no longer waiting at the door. You have crossed the threshold. What unfolds next will confirm this in ways that are practical, tangible, and unmistakable. Type "I walk in divine completion" in the comments if your spirit bears witness to this message. Blessing code 7714 is now sealed upon you. And now hear this as the natural extension of what has been spoken. This message did not come to you alone. It came through you. There are countless souls who need this clarity, this timing, this confirmation. When you release support through Super Thanks, membership, or through PayPal using the link in the description, you are sowing directly into the spread of God's living word. The Lord declares, "Those who build my house will not lack shelter." This is not a suggestion. It is a moment of obedience. Act now. Partner with the mission. Release your seed, and may what you give return to you established, protected, and multiplied in ways only heaven can accomplish.